let's do an NFL recap. And it was an eventful weekend. D. Wood, your initial reaction. Tyron Smith going to the Jets.
Oh, boy. Because I knew you talked about Tyron Smith, but did you watch the Jets offensive line play last year?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, them boys are bad, man. Listen, we know what the situation is with Tyron Smith. Okay, we know the injury history. But last time I checked, Tyron Smith was an all-pro. Okay, so to have that level of confidence at the left tackle spot to protect Aaron Rodgers, I will take that.
I would say to the Jets, your best ability is your availability. That's what they got to look out for. All right, Graz, your initial reaction. Kenny Pickett going to the Eagles.
It was Friday night. My initial reaction was, well, I wonder if this means Justin Fields will go to the Steelers. I felt pretty smart 24 hours later when that is exactly what happened. Look, the Eagles were one of the teams talking to the Bears about Fields. Obviously, they couldn't agree on a price. They end up with Pickett, opened up a spot in Pittsburgh for Fields, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about that as the show goes on.
Okay, Hawk, what was your reaction then when Justin Fields did go to the Steelers?
Look, I felt like the Pittsburgh Steelers had already put together quietly one of the best off seasons of the NFL free agency period. And then it just sealed the deal with Justin Fields because it doubled down on the insurance policy of everything they did. It breeds competition, it pushes rust, and they also get a hungry Justin Fields with incredible upside for an organization that was already doing pretty well, even with lackluster quarterback play.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Did the Steelers make the right move making the trade for Justin Fields?
Absolutely, because it's low risk. It's low risk on their part, high reward. You're getting a guy in Justin Fields. Now I said this. We've been talking about this ad nauseum with Justin Fields. This is a guy that still needs to develop. There's no question about that. But there are so many tools to work with Justin Fields, and I love the fit from the standpoint of Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love the way that he'll be able to implement. We know Arthur Smith is one guy that knows how to formulate a run, rushing attack and play action pass game. Well, guess what? I think that's where Justin Fields will be able to excel within this type of offense.
Hawk, what do you think? Because you already got Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, the guy who put up 26 touchdowns. 26 touchdowns and just 8 picks last season. Give me your thoughts. They make the right move in going to get Justin Fields.
I love it. The Steelers did everything possible to put insurance in all of their moves. They go get Patrick Queen at the middle linebacker spot to fill in for a spot they haven't been able to truly get the most out of since Ryan Shazier, and they double down on what Pittsburgh Steelers football is all about. Defense, and they're not asking Russell Wilson to come in here and be a world beater. They're asking him to take a step forward, which he was to Kenny Pickett and the way Kenny Pickett has performed over the last couple of seasons. The knock on Russell Wilson is he's risk averse. You can't be risk averse with Justin Fields breathing down your back and looking over your shoulder, because Justin Fields didn't want to come to Pittsburgh to hold a clipboard. He wants to compete. So Russell Wilson will have to be at his best in order to fend Justin Fields off, and it's the best of both worlds for the Steelers. Either Russell Wilson gets to a level we haven't seen him play over the last couple of years, or Justin Fields supplants him as the starter, and then they have a young player with tremendous upside that they can make a decision to build around all before the free trial is over on either one of these quarterbacks.
I like what Hawk is saying, Graz, but when they went and got Russell Wilson, why do you think Pittsburgh went and said, okay, let me go ahead and get Justin Fields as well?
Well, Kenny Pickett apparently told them he wanted out after they got Russell Wilson, and so now you need a backup. Fields obviously available. He's a guy that Mike Tomlin, we know, liked when he was coming out in the draft in 2021. The price very low, a 6th-round pick that can convert to a 4th-rounder if he plays more than half of their offensive snaps this year. So low risk, as everybody has said, and I think he's just a guy they see some upside with. Russell Wilson is signed for 1 year. Justin Fields is signed for 1 year. They're not committed to anybody beyond 2024. They're going to see what happens. But I think this was a situation, like, think about musical chairs, right? Like, the chairs were filling up. Like, once the Eagles get Pickett, right? The Seahawks get Sam Howell. You go back to, like, Jacoby Brissett signing in New England and Darnold in Minnesota. So, like, at some point, the Bears were going to have to say, do we hold on, right, until the market gets better for Justin Fields, or do we just cut bait now, send him somewhere good, right, and move on with our lives, which is obviously going to include the number 1 pick quarterback, and that's why it came together over the weekend.
Hawk, is it only basically inevitable that we're going to see a quarterback controversy, though, in Pittsburgh? Because, you look at the Steelers' schedule. They got some monsters on that schedule here, and if Russell doesn't get off to a good start, are we going to hear people just saying, let's start Justin Fields?
I won't say it's inevitable, because this is truly the sanctity of football. You need to be taking people's jobs, or you need to fend people off from taking your job. The reality is Russell Wilson hasn't been in this position for a very long time, and he's going to have to fend off Justin Fields. It doesn't matter what the coach or the GM has told him about coming in and being the starter. That being said, pressure bust pipe. That's as simple as that. And NFL football players and NFL football is centered around that. There is a scenario where Russell Wilson feels that pressure and he plays better than we've seen him play in a very long time. And that barometer is different in Pittsburgh than it was in Denver. He doesn't have to do as much as he was tasked to do as a Bronco.
You know, it's interesting, Wood. You look at the last 7 starts for both of these guys. Russell Wilson was averaging 228 yards a game. Justin Fields, 254 yards a game. Russ, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks his last 7 starts. Fields, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks.
Yeah, listen, I think that, you know, the aspect that we talked about with Justin Fields is the legs, right? That's the aspect of Russell Wilson's game that's been in decline. His ability to escape, not only escape the pocket, but escape pressure. And so I think here's what I find fascinating here is the way that how will Arthur Smith deploy both of these guys? Because I think this is a situation where you're not just going to play Russell Wilson. I think you got to incorporate both of these guys. It would be a travesty if you don't utilize Justin Fields' skill set within this offense. So, you know, whether we're talking about the competition, can Russell Wilson fend them off? How will they deploy both of these guys? I think that's going to be a fascinating thing to watch in Pittsburgh as we roll along in the offseason.
It was the right thing to do in terms of managing Russell Wilson, right? To come out strong on the day you trade for Justin Fields and say Russell Wilson's the starter. Like, that's important for Russell to be feeling that way. But come on, I mean, Fields has a better QBR over the last 2 years. They're actually paying Fields more than they're paying Russell Wilson this year. And he offers something with his legs that Russell doesn't. I think Russell Wilson's going to have to play at an extremely high level if he wants to fend off Justin Fields, who's going to look like a viable option. If Russell's just sort of mid like he was this past year or terrible like he was the year before, I think it's going to be very tempting for the Steelers to see what they have in the guy that can do, you know, multiple things on the field as opposed to one.
Hawk, what do you think?
Look, there's an old saying that says if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. So if the Steelers are coming into this thinking they're going to split time between these two and get away with that in the AFC North, one of the most competitive divisions in football, it's going to be tough for them. But to Graz and Woody's point, they have 2 guys that are upgrades from where they were last year.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it could be overstated, the upgrade that they did in this quarterback room. And it does not matter. They're cooking with grease now because either option they go with puts them in a better scenario than they have been in seasons past.
Brooke, let me start with you. How did the trade for Fields get done?
Well, Brian, Mike Tomlin wants volunteers, not hostages. And after Russell Wilson signed, Kenny Pickett was feeling a little bit like a hostage. He made it known that he didn't want to be in Pittsburgh anymore. He did not like that signing, felt like it was a reversal of that full faith comment that we heard from GM Omar Khan just about 2 weeks before. So once the Steelers traded Kenny Pickett to Philadelphia, that opened up a spot for Justin Fields in Pittsburgh, and things moved really quickly. They came together by Saturday night. Justin Fields was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for that 6th-round pick that can upgrade to a 4th in 2025 if he plays more than 51% of the snaps. And this is a case of maybe Justin Fields is a volunteer under duress because he's traded, but there's mutual interest between Fields and the Steelers. Mike Tomlin, big fan of Justin Fields. And for Justin Fields, this is a great landing spot because he will compete with Russell Wilson, maybe not for the starting job this year right away because the Steelers have expressed, I'm told, to Russell Wilson, he is the starter at this point, but Justin Fields lands in a great spot, and the Steelers have upgraded their quarterback room significantly from where it was just a week and a half ago.
Okay, so Gross, help me understand this because Kenny Pickett doesn't want to compete. I understand maybe your feelings are hurt because they say, hey, look, you're going to be our guy. We're going to invest in you. Then they go bring in Russell Wilson. But we've talked ad nauseum about maybe Russell Wilson is dead. You don't want to compete with Russell Wilson because you sure as hell ain't going to compete in Philadelphia.
Right.
You're going to be a backup.
I don't know what Russell Wilson tape Kenny Pickett's been watching, but it's not from the last 2 years if he didn't think he could beat him out. Look, I mean, I think to say at this point Russell Wilson's the starter makes sense. I think it's the right move for the Steelers to come out strongly with that and to start the offseason that way because I think that gets to the issue of managing Russell Wilson. But Justin Fields is a player that's going to be interesting. And if Russell Wilson struggles, you will hear the calls in Pittsburgh. But let's take a look at the other guy. And to Brooks' point, neither one of them is under contract for 2025. The Steelers have a blank slate at the quarterback position after this coming season. So it's tryout time. It's show me what you can do and make yourself a consideration for us next offseason.
It's head-scratching to me, Woody, that Pickett didn't want to compete with Russell.
That was the thing we talked about in the meeting this morning. It's like, bro, you didn't want to compete with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson went from the Seahawks to the Broncos and now the Pittsburgh Steelers in a matter of a few years. And that you running away from competition, that tells me more about you than anything. And so Pittsburgh Steelers probably looking at the situation like, good. I'm glad you expressed that to us because now we can move on to guys who want to be not only be here but want to compete and upgrade our quarterback room.
Hawk, what are your thoughts?
Same thing, man. This isn't the transfer portal. This isn't, I'm not playing, I'm going somewhere else. This is the National Football League. There's not a lot of situations where you can compete to be a starting quarterback. And to all of their point, Russell Wilson is who you want to go toe-to-toe with in today's landscape of the NFL. So I'm hoping that Kenny Pickett maybe has more information than we do, or it was a situation where he felt like maybe he needed to go somewhere else to fully get the development he needs as a quarterback. And if that's the case, understood. But if it is completely, I don't want to compete with Russell Wilson, my feelings are hurt, I'm going somewhere else, he's got a lot to learn about NFL football.
Brooke, are we going to see a quarterback controversy? Is it inevitable there in Pittsburgh?
I don't know if controversy is the right word. I mean, I think that we are going to see Justin Fields pushing Russell Wilson, but that's exactly what they want in this scenario. I think that they're trying to create that competition. They're trying to have those two quarterbacks make each other better in that room. And to me, this is Mike Tomlin saying, hey, I am tired of these never had a losing season things. I want to win the playoffs. The Steelers have not had a win in the playoffs since 2016. And Art Rooney II, right after the season, he met with us in the local media and said that he is getting frustrated with this lack of success and there is an urgency around here. And I think to me, this is Mike Tomlin saying, I feel my own coaching mortality. Yes, he has, in discussions to have an extension this offseason. He doesn't quite have a lifetime contract in Pittsburgh, but they are still happy with him as a coach. But I think this is him saying, I'm tired of losing. I want to get these guys a Super Bowl. I want to get Cam Hayward a Super Bowl, Minkah Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt. And so he went out and did something about it.
Is it now or never, you think, from Mike Tomlin there in Pittsburgh?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've heard that they're working on an extension, and I think that's entirely possible that that's where it goes. But, it did get a little dicey toward the end of the year, right? There were some questions about his future. So it could be a situation at some point where maybe he wants to go his separate ways. So I think it's an important year in Pittsburgh. I really, really do. Like the 9-8, 10-7, get the 7th seed, losing the first round. That's a pattern they want to break and they need to break. Mike Tomlin is among those who wants to break it. And I think he'd be very happy if they could do that this year and he could stay there for a while.
Certainly a wake-up call there in Pittsburgh.